Hello everyone, back with another recent watches video. So yeah, I think I say in the other ones I've done, this might be part 5 now. I always forget to check how long it was since I did the previous one, so I think it's 11 days. So yeah, I think I've watched about 11 films or so in that time. Before I get on with that, I'm just going to show this one. So I was going to do a sort of dedicated video to it, but sort of been speaking to Josh Fulci fan 101, 1014 now. I think he's changed the numbers on it slightly. Sure, everybody knows Joshua. I'll put a link in the description, or actually probably in the title. Yeah, he sent me quite a few things I showed over the sort of years. But yeah, this is the most recent thing he sent me. So yeah, when I did say to him I was going to do a video just showing this, he kind of said, "Don't worry about doing a video," but it's not so much showing this just to say thanks and show people what I've got. I want to sort of give him a shout out and things. Obviously, he's got his own channel. I spoke, about 5 times saying how he's got the best Pennywise collection I've seen on YouTube. Loads of rare video nasties, loads of old VHS tapes, like originals from when they were first released. As you can see up there, I won't go over everything he sent me because I've said in a video a while ago, but sent me the zombie flesh eaters and then the Palace explosive video of Night of the Zombies, aka Zombie Creeping Flesh. Does have another title he told me, but I can't remember. And yeah, now I've got this Palace explosive video of the House on Sorority Row, which is one I've heard of, but one I've never seen. Inside is a note. I won't sort of read it all out in case Joshua wants it to be kept private. Obviously, there's nothing too private in the note, but I know Joshua isn't the kind of guy that does this for credit and things. He just, like he says to me, he just likes to sort of give things to collectors in the community and brings him some joy kind of seeing it up on the shelf. And he also has sent me the disc of it he's burned, so I can actually watch this without having to wear out the tape in the, let me get back a little bit, tape in the VHS player. Obviously a little while ago I picked up my VHS player in a charity shop, struggling to set it up because I've got the SCART cables, but the bit where the SCART cable goes in seems to be slightly bent, can't fit it in. So I thought rather than, try and watch this on VHS and get it chewed up, potentially ruin the video, I'm going to watch the disc. So yeah, hoping to watch that probably today or this week. So it will be in the next recent watches video. I'll just quickly pop that back up there. Right, so yeah, on with the ones I've watched recently. Let me get comfortable on my chair, stool, should I say. Right, so I've got them in the order I watched them. I'll try not to talk about each one too long, just give like a brief overview of them. So Killer Clowns from Outer Space was the first one I watched this week. It's the 2-disc one. I think I've seen a few copies of this. I think in one of my local CEXs in Bath, the city of Bath. They had 2 copies of this. I think they were £35 or so each. So yeah, well out of print. Obviously, if people want to get it, don't want to pay that, it has been re-released. Not sure what label it's on, but I think Roy and a few people picked it up. Sort of probably about £12 or so on the Blu-ray. But yeah, I've had this one for years. Got this one, I think, probably in an arrow sale for about £9. Yeah, I won't trade it in. Not only do I really enjoy the film, but yeah, just a nice one to have. One of my sort of rarest out of print in general, but one of my rarest Arrow ones. One I've seen quite a few times. But yeah, just a really fun 80s kind of horror slapstick kind of comedy. Not really too horror intense. It's, as you can see, it's a 12, contains moderate horror and one use of strong language. But yeah, it is funny, really good costumes. Low budget, but done really well. Directed by Stephen Chiodo. Starring Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, John Allen, Nelson, Royal, Dano, and John Vernon as Officer Mooney. Yeah, obviously, really good costumes and thing. It is campy, but it's kind of meant to be like that. So yeah, I think out of all the sort of 80s horror that are kind of meant to be campy and sort of silly fun, this one is one that works the most. Yeah, it's got sort of good special effects, especially the blue model in part. Yeah, it's just a really fun film, really. 86 minutes, so not sort of too long. Never watched this on DVD. Don't know if they do a 4K, but yeah, really good Blu-ray print. Don't really have anything to compare it to. But yeah, I'd say it's kind of like a what's the word, like a gateway horror. So, if you've got kids and you're starting to get them into horror, maybe you start with like Ghostbusters, Addams Family, and then on to like scary stories to tell in the dark, then maybe onto something like this. As I say, it's only a 12, it's not got too much gore, one use of bad language. Yeah, quite a fun sort of family film. I'll put it up to that side. Next one, Felicia's Journey. So I did talk about this on the live stream, if anybody's seen that. I will quickly plug the live stream. So I'm not going to be on the live stream this Monday, tomorrow. Recording this on a Sunday. I'm guessing I'll upload it on a Sunday. But yeah, I've got work basically until late. But Ollie's going to be on it. Sam, I think Roy's on it this time. A few special guests I won't mention or spoil, should I say. And there's going to be a quiz. I think I'm allowed to say that. Sorry, Ollie, if not. Ollie, obviously the quiz master. We did sort of say when I think he came up with the idea, or Roy Barrett from Blue Roy's Movies came up with the idea of a quiz. They kind of say Ollie shouldn't be allowed to take part in the quiz because it wouldn't be fair on everybody else, because everybody knows Ollie's just got an insane encyclopedic knowledge of films and TV shows. That's why his nickname in the WhatsApp group is now Ollie the Oracle. But yeah, sort of mentioned this in the live stream. Filmed by, I think you say, Atom Igoyan. Don't know if it's an Irish production, but she basically, Felicia comes from Ireland looking for her boyfriend, and he's kind of telling her he's working at this, like, I think it's a steel mill, a warehouse in Birmingham, and she can't kind of find him, and you don't know whether he's kind of fobbed her off. People are kind of telling her that maybe he's joined the army, and she doesn't want to believe it, but I mean, yeah, it's not a spoiler to say it is, as it says on the front, mesmerising psycho thriller. It is a serial killer film, but quite what's the word? Not ambiguous. Kind of vague. It's not like Silence of the Lambs where it's so in your face, or Henry portrayed a serial killer where it's really dark and brooding. It is, yeah, it got more of a drama feel. Elaine Cassidy is good in this. I remember when I first watched this when I was about 15 years old. I think I seen it on TV. And yeah, had like a massive crush on Elaine Cassidy. She then went on to be in The Others, the film with Nicole Kidman. Not sure who directs that. Obviously like a ghostly kind of horror film. She's not got a massive part in it. I think she plays the maid. Not sure what else she's in. I should check really, because she's a really good actress. Yeah, good in this, but Bob Hoskins steals the show. I'm not saying it's the best film he's been in or his best acting, but his most menacing role. So yeah, there is one part where he's just kind of staring in the mirror, just making this kind of evil face. And yeah, I don't know how he manages to pull it. His physical acting in this is brilliant. Yeah, he plays quite a deep kind of character where you kind of sympathise with him, even though you know or suspect he's a killer. He does some nice things in that. So you're like, is he just being nice to lure people in, or is he got a kind of conflicting personality where he wants to be nice and, he's got issues that sort of turn him into a killer. Well, turn him, what's the word? Entice him to kill kind of thing. Can't really say too much about spoiling it as to what happens, even though the sort of premise that is something to do with a serial killer. I won't say what happens with these two characters, but yeah, really good chemistry, amazing music, kind of Irish sort of folk music, I think it is, with a lot of sort of like choirs in the background and violins and things. But yeah, really blown away by this one. Really entertaining film. Kind of like a slow burn, but never got boring. Never was like checking my watch to see when it was ending. I think it's quite a rare out of print one. I don't really ever see it around. But I would say if anyone comes across that in like CEX or a charity shop or something, pick that up, because I don't think you would be disappointed. People like Ollie and Sammy that are into their kind of British dramas. Bob Hoskins, I think, is from London, but he does a really good Birmingham accent in it. Quite a sort of bleak film, not so much in terms of the scenario, but just where it's filmed in Birmingham. It's usually kind of dour weather, if you live in Britain, you've come to expect that kind of stuff. Then you've got Don't Torture a Duckling. So I did show this one on the boxing one, along with another one I've watched. So yeah, this was the third. I think I watched this really late at night at like 1 a.m, and it was a really sort of good time to watch it for the kind of film it is. 105 minutes, obviously Lucio Fulci's giallo film. One I've never seen before, though I had heard of it. I wouldn't say it's my favourite Lucio Fulci film. I still prefer The Beyond and Zombie Flesh Eaters, just for the kind of B-movie, splatter, gore, just kind of more my sort of what's the word, my kind of taste. But I'd say this is a better made. Yeah, this is probably the best made film I've seen by him in terms of overall filmmaking. You know, as much as I love Zombie Flesh Eaters and the Beyond, they are kind of B movies, kind of a lower budget. Whereas no, this one does feel like it's a bit more of like a high value production. Still does have some like shocking moments. So I won't really spoil it. But all I'll say is there's a bit with a boy's face in water kind of thing. It's quite graphic. Kind of what they're talking about. Yeah, it's quite controversial. It's got a lot of twists and red herrings, which I guess a lot of giallo films do have. Yeah, I know Marcus from Xbox 2708 and Nikki from Skin Crawlers both said this is a really good one. They rated highly, that they thought I would enjoy. And yeah, it really did. Yeah, you really don't know where the film's going. You think it's going to be a certain character. It does say on the back that basically someone's killing like the young boys in the village, so not a spoiler to say. But yeah, they throw you quite a few red herrings. There's twists. Yeah, it's filmed in a way. How do I? I mean, the acting in that is good, and yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel low budget, but it does have. It's a thriller, but you can still tell it's Lucio Fulci. Yeah, is what I'm trying to get at. So it still has some of the kind of hallmarks of his filmmaking. So you know, even though it feels a bigger budget and what's the word, a more classy kind of production than some of his splatter films. I mean, I watched the subtitles. You can watch it in dubbing, but I always personally just prefer. Anyone that's watched the subtitles, let me know if it's bearable. Because yeah, when I've watched a few, not so much Lucio Fulci, but some films in general. I remember when I was watching the Squid Game season 1, and I just couldn't get on with the dubbing. I just didn't think it kind of fitted the style of the production. I found it was better to have the subtitles. Also, because I was watching this at 1 a.m, it meant I could bring the volume down a bit and read the subtitles. Whereas, yeah, like I said before, I do find films, you know, the dialogue and that will be really quiet, so you turn it up to like max volume, and then when killings and screamings or gunshots or any action happens, it's kind of waking up the neighbours and things. So yeah, it was kind of nice to be able to watch that in subtitles, read everything that was going on without having to have the volume up too loud. But yeah, pleasantly surprised by that one. Kind of put me on my path to giallo, to watch more giallos. Sure everybody knows TV Nash, Stephen from TV Nash. Really great channel, shouted him out a few times. Did a video a while ago recommending spaghetti westerns for me. He's now done one recommending a load of giallos. So yeah, I've written a few down in that, so I'm going to try and buy those. So yeah, watch this space for more giallos to be bought and showed on the channel. Got another British film here, Hush. So directed by Mark Tonderai. Written and directed by him. It's like it says when I started it, it's funded by the National Lottery and like the British Film Council. So yeah, even though it's kind of low budget, they make the most of it. I think there is another film called Hush by Mike Flanagan. I think it's Mike Flanagan, about a deaf woman that's being like stalked by a killer in like a home invasion, which I haven't seen but heard is good. But you know, this is a different one. I won't go in it too much because it's spoilerish, but basically a couple driving around the motorways in England, go into service stations, and then the guy's job is to go into the toilets and put up these posters. He's kind of getting paid to do it for like advertising and things. Along the way, does it say this on the back? Yeah, it does say, so it's not a spoiler. Well, I'll read this quickly. One stormy night, young couples Aches and Beth are driving through the darkness up the M1 when they are abruptly cut up by a wildly driven truck. For a split second, the back of the vehicle rolls open to reveal what looks like a half-naked woman tied up and caged. Shaken up and confused, Zakes chooses not to help but to drive away. Later that night, his decision returns to haunt him in the worst possible way, as to his horror, he is dragged into a brutal and dangerous game of cat and mouse on the relentless, rain-soaked motorway. A tense and shocking thriller, Hush will take you on a nightmarish journey to your darkest fears. So it was released 2009, 88 minutes. Yeah, obviously, it's good to see sort of British, English, UK, whatever you want to call it, productions. But yeah, there's not too many films other than what's it called? Dead End. See if I can see it down there. Yeah, Dead End. Kind of road trip kind of horror films. Whereas yeah, the majority of this is either filmed on motorways in the pouring rain or in service stations. But yeah, I kind of like the style of it. Really tense film. It's not too higher budget, but obviously when the sort of tense bits come, it's kind of Hitchcock-esque. I'm not saying it's as masterful as Hitchcock. I mean, not many directors ever have been, but yeah, it's got quite a few scenes where, without using too much sort of special effects and high production, really get some sort of tense gripping scenes. Won't talk about too many of them, but there's one bit where basically the guy's in the toilet looking for the main character Zakes. Never heard a weird name. I don't know if they made it up for this. Anybody's ever known anyone called Zakes, let me know in the comments. But yeah, one bit where the guy's kind of looking for him. He's in like a toilet cubicle, and obviously so he can't see his feet through the bottom of the door. He's like hanging on to a coat peg on the toilet door with both hands, and the coat peg screws are coming out, and as the guy's looking, it's sort of breaking and breaking, and yeah, it's really tense. It's about 5 scenes where it was kind of nail-bitingly tense. I think, yeah, the acting is good. It's not brilliant. I mean, they are kind of less renowned actors, but they do a good job, and they got good chemistry, although they are basically arguing with each other through most of the film. But yeah, like it says, a real cat and mouse kind of road chase film, which I don't think there's too many of those about. But yeah, if people haven't seen this, I'd say it's more of a thriller than a horror. Got a few sort of gory elements, but yeah, some really interesting twists. So many bits where it's tense, and then the tension gets relieved, and you think, right, the police have now walked in, and then something had happened where the tension ratchets back up. But yeah, I would recommend that if people haven't seen it. Then you've got Deep Blue Sea. So obviously this is the other one with Don't Torture a Duckling that I sort of unboxed. So yeah, recently came from Arrow, got this a few days early. It's the 4K. Kind of spoke about it a bit when I said, you know, it's not the best made film. It's kind of a bit of a sort of turn your brain off and enjoy. But no, when rewatching this, it was sort of better made than I realised. A few sort of cheesy bits, but it works within the context of this film. One of Rennie Harlin's better films. Some good acting in general, especially obviously from Samuel L. Jackson, Stellan Skarsgård, although he's not in it too much. But yeah, Thomas Jane looks so much like a young Christopher Lambert in this. Is this Christopher Lambert? Although when he's sort of doing the diving bits and he's got his top off, he looks a lot more ripped. And obviously Christopher Lambert was in Highlander and played Raiden in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I won't go on about this too much because a lot of people have picked this up. Sure, people know about this. Yeah, it's no sort of Citizen Kane. Although to be fair, I haven't seen Citizen Kane, but heard it's a classic film. But yeah, it's entertaining kind of popcorn horror, to sort of quote the name of Ash's channel. Right, next you've got Dead Man's Shoes with Paddy Considine. Directed by Shane Meadows, 2004, 86 minutes, British film. So yeah, obviously this has kind of been doing the rounds a bit recently on YouTube. So Marcus from X-File 2708's always been a big fan of this one. Got a big poster of it up in his movie room, always sort of singing its praises. Anybody that's seen Jodie's newest video from, what's it called? I think it's like Recommendations Part 2. I'll put the link to all the people I speak about in the description. But yeah, she's watched this on Marcus's recommendation, really enjoyed it. Anyone that's seen my sort of recent charity shop pickups and some I swapped with Ollie from Ollie Loves Film, seen this in the charity shop, sealed for $2.50. Ollie sort of brought it to my attention. Luckily, he already had it, so I was able to get it. Trades in for about £20, I think. Sorry, not trades in. Sells at about £18-20 in CEX, so well out of print. But yeah, got this $2.50 sealed. One I have seen on the TV years ago, and I'm talking like over 20 years ago, or maybe I watched it around my mate's house, I had it on video, and really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's not until I rewatched this, obviously on Blu-ray, it's a better picture. But yeah, I think on like I think this is second or third view, and yeah, I was just blown away by this. Always kind of thought it was good, but yeah, now I'd say, I think I did say when I was talking to a few people in the WhatsApp, or maybe commented on Jodie's Movie Realm video where she spoke about this, is my favourite British film. I think I did say that, and then I was kind of forgetting about With Nell and I, which is probably always going to be my favourite. But yeah, it's very close. It's in my top 3 or top 5 British films. Pretty bleak, few kind of twists. Just really, what's the word? Surprising, I guess, how with these kind of quite unknown actors and quite a low budget, it's just such a well-made film. The villains, you really do, I mean, they're a bit bungling, but you really do hate them. And when, obviously not a spoiler to say, Paddy Considine's character, Anthony, I think he's called, starts taking them all out, you're kind of really rooting for him. there's a few films I've seen where there's a kind of sympathetic villain, and once they get in their comeuppance, you're like, oh, you feel a bit bad for them. Whereas no, in this, when it kind of shows what they've done to his brother Michael and things, again, not a spoiler to say, yeah, you really want them to be sort of what's the word, revenged upon, for him to take his vengeance upon them on behalf of his brother. Like I say, there's a few twists, really well shot, really gritty, really sort of hard-hitting violence, a few kind of funny moments as well. Can't really say too much about the scene, some of my favourite scenes, without spoiling it. There is one bit where there's a guy called Sonny, who's like the leader of the gang, meant to be real kind of like a tough guy, and everyone's scared of him. And he goes up to pretty sure he's called Anthony. So tell me on the back. Paddy Considine's character, and he's just stood there with his hands behind his back, like in his pockets, kind of just, giving across a kind of don't care attitude. And then Sonny tries to intimidate him, and he's laughing in his face. And then Sonny's like, "You're not scared of me, are you?" And then Anthony kind of smirks at him, and he's like, "No, mate, not in the slightest." And obviously, if someone comes up to you and you're squaring up in a position to fight, then obviously they know you're kind of game for it. But I think being so blasé with your hands in your pockets, just acting like, the guy can't do anything to you, that really kind of threw him. There's a few actors I kind of recognised, but yeah, considering they were quite unknown, probably quite amateur actors, not too far into their careers at the time, especially the drug dealing gang, really good performances. It's not just the revenge he takes, the kind of chaos and fear he sows in the group. He doesn't just sort of, not a spoiler again to say, but try and take them out one by one to get revenge, but he'll like do something to terrify them. They're all running around screaming, they kind of lose their heads. He does things to trick them. But yeah, I mean, won't talk about it too much because, like I say, everyone in the film community seems to be on it at the moment. But a brilliant film. Second Sight are meant to be releasing a version. They can't get the 4K, or can't get the rights to the 4K, should I say. So they're going to release it on Blu-ray. Obviously, I guess they'll do like a big box kind of set, so I will be getting that. And then, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to trade that in at CEX for like 5 times more than I paid for it. And won't cost me too much to get the upgrade. So yeah, so far we've had all good ones. This might be about to change with this. Children of the Living Dead. I knew this would be a crap one. It's kind of meant to be, and that's kind of partly why I wanted it. Obviously, it's got the original Night of the Living Dead, which I do have on a better version, although still only on DVD. It's one I do need to upgrade onto Blu-ray or 4K. This has nothing to do with the Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, any of those. It's just the kind of cheap spin-off. It does have Tom Savini, but only at the first 10 minutes. His acting's not great, but at the same time, it's feels like the whole film is dubbed. So people recording their sort of action, and then they dub the lines over. But there's bits when his lips aren't even moving, he's saying things. One bit where you see the clip fall on the floor and he's still shooting the gun. It is just low budget. I will say it's not boring. I've seen some, kind of really bad films that are just boring, but no, it is kind of entertaining. It passed by quite fast. It's got some really hilarious moments. It is badly made. I mean, I was expecting it to be like a 1 out of 10 star, whereas I'd probably give it 2 or 3, just because, like I say, it is a kind of film, get your mates round to laugh at it, but also take a drink every time like something bizarre happens, or every time there's just a scene where you're like, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, story doesn't really make much sense. I think the premise to how the zombies come about, as far as it goes, is there was a guy called Abbott Hayes who was a murderer and what do you call it, like sexual attacker, kidnapped like women and killed them. And then the reason he turned to a zombie is because his mother used to make him dress up as a woman, so forced him to cross-dress. So somehow, rather than most zombie films like nuclear radiation, like a spillage of toxic waste, like in Return of the Living Dead, the best zombie film ever. Sometimes it's a meteor will go past and wait. There's always a reason. The best, most ambiguous reason they could give is his mother made him cross-dress, so that was powerful enough to bring him back out of the grave. And then there's a few people he basically turns them into zombies. Some of the funniest scenes, there's one bit where they're driving along in a big, what do you call it, like an SUV, like a kind of Range Rover thing, big heavy car, put it that way, only going about 20 miles an hour, so it's not going so fast that something would come out in front of you and you'd swerve. But yeah, they're going about 20 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't know if you can see him there. Abbott Hayes basically got a really bad rubber mask, got these like long fingered rubber gloves from like Walmart or somewhere. I guess this is made in America. bad like costume, steps out in front of the car. He makes this kind of weird noise throughout the film, a bit like a dinosaur or raptor or something, which again I don't really know where that comes from. But yeah, steps in front of a car and people barely see him. Obviously, I don't drive, but if most people's logic, you're driving along, 5 people in a heavy vehicle at 20, so it's not so fast that you've got no reaction time. A zombie jumps out in front of you. They're telling the story at the time about this creepy old guy called Albert Hayes, urban legend. He's meant to be now a zombie. So there's some context. When he jumps out, all of them at the same time are like, Albert Hayes, in this funny voice. And then rather than mow him down and keep driving, they just drive off of a cliff. He just jumps out and goes out with his hand like 10 foot away from them. They drive off of a cliff. The special effects when the car goes off the cliff is hilarious. There's a bit later on. There's so many sort of funny bits. Yeah, I won't go into it because I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. But yeah, in terms of filmmaking, it's a 1 out of 10. One of the worst films I've ever seen, but it is genuinely entertaining and it is just hilarious. I'm not sure this would be everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, I'm sure Marcus from Xbox 2708 and Ash from Popcorn and Horror enjoy their kind of so bad it's hilarious films. Yeah, it is one of those. It's just genuinely funny. Yeah, there were so many bits that kind of made me laugh, so many bits when I was like, what the hell? When it just ends abruptly out of nowhere. I literally had to rewind it like 1 minute to be like, did I miss something? Because I don't know what the hell the what's the word? Not only does it end abruptly, but yeah, it brings you no like consolation so much. I want to say it looks like they were filming, got to about 89 minutes, like right, we're out of budget, just cut the cameras here. But yeah, really inept film. But I have seen worse films. I mean, the acting's bad, but the acting's delivered in a way where the actors are kind of probably like if I was to act, I'd kind of just go for realism, and I probably deliver the lines like I deliver them if I'm talking on a video now or talking to my friends or like people at work, where there's no kind of emphasis. Whereas I've seen some worse films where they're overreacting really badly, and they'll react like, we need to go down a country lane, and I was like, nobody would sort of emphasize it with so much what's the word? Enthusiasm. So yeah, I've seen worse acting. I've probably seen some more boring films, worse set design. But yeah, it's got to be up there with like top 5 worst films I've ever seen. I mean, you can get bad films from other genres, but I'd say with horror, it kind of has got more grounds for just like terrible, silly, schlocky films, but ones that I would say are kind of entertaining and funny. I don't know if you could see that with the glare, but Yellow Brick Road. So I just assumed this was called Yellow Brick Road. Bit of like a kind of mystery horror, but yeah, they just called it that as maybe like a little what's the word? An ode to Wizard of Oz, but no, it's actually got a bit more sort of references and things to Wizard of Oz than I was expecting. I'll quickly read the back. So, one autumn morning in 1940, the entire population of Friar, New Hampshire, walked together up a winding mountain trail and into the wilderness, never to be seen alive again. The only clue as to where they went was a single word etched into a stone near the forest edge: Yellow Brick Road. A search party eventually discovered the remains of nearly 300 people. Many had frozen to death, others were cruelly and mysteriously slaughtered, most were never found. Their fates have remained a mystery for over 70 years, until 2009, when the coordinates for the trail were declassified and a team of researchers attempted to track the path of the doomed citizens. So yeah, it's actually quite an entertaining film. Yeah, it was quite well made. I mean, it is low budget, but they kind of used the low budget in a good way, unlike Children of the Living Dead. Directed by Andy Mitten and Jesse Holland. Weirdly enough, I knew someone called Andrew Mitten at school. I don't think it was the same guy. It's low budget, but yeah, it's not only entertaining, but don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, there's quite a few references to the film of Wizard of Oz. Obviously, they do go up Yellow Brick Road, plays a lot of old sort of, is it like 1930s, 1940s music. Obviously, Wizard of Oz, I'm looking at it now on the shelf, was made in 1939. Hopefully it's not a spoiler to say, but there's obviously, as you can expect from a kind of horror thriller, some people are killed in it, and there's a bit when one of the women that's been killed, they find her and she's strung up like the scarecrow from the original Wizard of Oz, and her face looks like it, but her kind of jaws hanging off, and yeah, she's kind of like crucified up on a stick. as they're on the trail, they just keep hearing this weird music that's kind of doing their heads in and like turning them insane. Yeah, it's kind of quite an ambiguous sort of slow burner. Yeah, I'd say more of a thriller than a horror. But yeah, it's got a few bits of gore. It's not really scary, but there's kind of some creepiness to it. Like I say, quite a slow kind of film. Yeah, obviously, other than Wizard of Oz, Return to Oz, Wicked, which I've not seen. I think there might be another like Wizard of Oz spin-off, but yeah, even though it's not an endorsed kind of IP, it does sort of have a few not just nods to the story, and obviously you can tell it's a bit influenced by it, but it does sort of take its own spin on some of the meanings and things of the original Wizard of Oz. So yeah, if anybody wants to see a horror film with elements of Wizard of Oz, then yeah, I'm sure you'll find that one interesting. That one was a first time watch for me. Sorry, I don't think I said as I was going through. So yeah, Killer Clowns, Felicia's Journey, Hush, Deep Blue Sea, Dead Man's Shoes, and Children of the Living Dead. I'd seen them all before. Don't Torture a Duckling was a first time watch. Next you've got Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So this was a rewatch, but the last time I'd seen it in full was when I went to see it at the cinema. See if I can find the year. I'm never good at finding the year on the back of these things. Basically, I watched this at the cinema. I was born in '84. I must have only been 5 or so I'm guessing this must have... Oh no, I found it now, 1988. So yeah, I was only about 4 years old when I seen this at the cinema. Obviously, Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film starring Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Charles Fleischer, and Joanna Cassidy. How long is it? 103 minutes, so not too long. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, obviously, I was just enjoyed it because it's kind of cartoons mixed with live action film. But yeah, watching it again, I'll have to watch the special features. But there was bits when I'm just like, how did they do this? You know, obviously they must either draw the cartoon elements onto the actual like film negatives, or somehow they manipulate them into the film. But it's not just that there's like a cartoon car that's been, what's the word, spliced into the scene. Obviously, when they're recording it, they'll actually have Bob Hoskins going at this driving, and then it looks like he's got his hands around the steering wheel. But yeah, I couldn't get my head around how they actually made some of this. Bob Hoskins really good in it. I was kind of thinking at the start how obviously he's a British actor. I think he's from London, like I said when I was talking about Felicia's Journey, where he puts on a Birmingham accent. I was like, wow, he's putting on a really good kind of Brooklyn accent. And then when they said it was set in California, I was like, oh right, he doesn't sound like he's in California. Kind of has like a bit of a film noir kind of style, but with Roger Rabbit and tunes and things added in. There's a guy in it, I think he's called Judge Doom. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid at the cinema, there's a bit when he kind of turns kind of evil. That used to really scare me. I seen a film list a while ago where someone had like most traumatizing parts in kids' films that like scared them, and that's always in there. Yeah, I have watched bits of it. I think a few years ago it came on TV and I watched sort of the second half. But yeah, I think it's the first time I've watched the whole thing since I was a kid. And yeah, really enjoyable, fun film. Still stands up, still really well made. And yeah, I can't say I've seen a bad film by Robert Zemeckis. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Back to the Future or Castaway. Does he do Forrest Gump? Ollie and Roy's favourite. Next, you've got Indiana Jones. Obviously, I haven't watched the whole box. A little while ago, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of always used to be my favourite as a kid. I think it's because it's the first one I seen, and I had a computer game of it when I was younger, probably on the ZX Spectrum Sinclair, if anybody remembers that. Whereas, yeah, no, this yesterday I watched Temples of Doom, and yeah, after rewatching this, I'd say it's probably my favourite now. Obviously, I'm onto The Last Crusade next, which I can't remember loving too much when I last watched it. But yeah, just really entertaining, never gets boring, always really well paced. Great acting, as people would expect from Harrison Ford. The lady in it that plays Willie, can't remember her name, and then you've got the kid, I think from the Goonies, that plays Short Round. Obviously, this isn't like a normal one where I can look on the back. It kind of doesn't have much information of the films. I think The Raiders of the Lost Ark was made by, I think it's produced by Spielberg, but directed by George Lucas, and maybe George Lucas and Spielberg. But Temple of Doom is just a Spielberg film, which I always forget. So yeah, this would probably be in my top 5 Spielberg films. Yeah, really fun, really good sort of set pieces, some brilliant action. There's some action scenes that go on for like 5 minutes, like chase scenes in the car through the village. I'm just like, how did they film that? But But yeah, anybody, obviously, I'm sure everybody knows Indiana Jones. Yeah, I think Roy did say Temple of Doom was his favourite, or maybe The Last Crusade. Yeah, I have to watch Last Crusade again to see if it sort of goes up in my estimation. But yeah, obviously there's a rewatch. I have seen it before, seen it a lot as a kid, and it was on the TV. It's on a bank holiday about 5 years ago. I watched most of it. But yeah, enjoyed watching it again, and like I say, just really entertaining. It's nearly 2 hours. It just flew by. That's one thing I did forget to say about Dead Man's Shoes. Even films I enjoy, sometimes, I get a message and I'll quickly look at the message during it, but I was so wrapped up in Dead Man's Shoes and the plot and things that I was fully focused on the film, wasn't thinking about anything else, didn't want to get up to get a drink or look at my phone. I was just completely enraptured with it. And then the last watch, watched this one, about 1 o'clock earlier this morning, Pinocchio 964. So this is a Japanese film. I'll read the back to you, try and get this finished in under 40 minutes. Pinocchio 964 depicts the nightmarishly surreal adventures of an illegally manufactured sex android found abandoned by his former owner and rescued from the scrap heap by a young woman, Himiko. She begins to tutor him in the ways of the world as if he was her own child, but with his original creators closing in, eager to conceal his existence from the authorities, it is not long before Pinocchio goes completely rogue. The feature debut of filmmaker and industrial musician Shozin Fukui, Rubber's Lover, presents a raw, hand-tooled vision that unfolds with a visceral and stomach-churning intensity at a breakneck charge through a brutal and uncaring post-industrial netherworld. 88 Films proudly presents this classic of early 90s Japanese cyberpunk cinema for the very first time on home video in the United Kingdom in a new HD scan. So yeah, it's one I sort of heard about years and years ago when I first was collecting the Tartan Asia Extreme, and I first watched Tetsuo Iron Man, and then on IMDb and things, people were saying if you like Tetsuo Iron Man 1 and then Tetsuo Body Hammer, or Tetsuo 2, then the other best are known as cyberpunk films from Japan are Pinocchio 964 and Rubber's Lover. So I'm hoping now that 88 Films, obviously on this Japaniki label, I've got about 5 or 6 releases on now, will release Rubber's Lover, which, as I read out, is by the same director. Hopefully they'll re-release Tetsuo Iron Man 1 and 2. Because obviously I've got them on Tartan Asia Extreme. I think they were released on the Shinja Tsukamoto box set, which is going for over £100, was only released in America. One I've tried to pick up. I think it kind of has most, if not all, of his films on. But other than that, which is expensive and only kind of region 1, maybe region 1 locked as well, it hasn't seemed to have I think it's got a standard Blu-ray release, but I'd like them to put out a special kind of all bells and whistles version of especially Tetsuo, which is one of my favourites, and Tetsuo 2, and then hopefully they might do Rubber's Lover next in this kind of Japaniki series. But I heard it was notorious, kind of heard so much about it a while ago that I'm not going to lie, it was a bit disappointing, where I'm surprised it is a 15. I expected it to be an 18 and a bit more kind of extreme and disturbing like Tetsuo is. Let me just quickly check what year Tetsuo was made. 1988. This one was 1991. So I thought it did take a lot of inspiration from Tetsuo, the way it's kind of filmed, the soundtrack, the kind of hyper fast, it goes from sort of stop motion into fast bits. It's not quite as kind of gory and graphic as I thought it was going to be. Probably not as gory and graphic as either of the Tetsuo films. People comment down below if you know more of these cyberpunk films, but obviously Tetsuo 1 and 2, this Pinocchio 964, and Rubber's Lover are the only ones I really know of, but I'm sure there's other lesser known. I mean, it's very weird, bizarre, surreal. So a few quite disgusting bits without going into it too much. There is some sex, but it's not that graphic, not compared to Erotic Ghost Story and some of the cat-free films I've been watching recently, like Ebola Syndrome. Kind of has gore and violence, but again, not that intense. The sort of, mostly sort of disgusting bits are more bodily fluids. So without going through too much, there's bits where this woman's being sick all over the floor. Bits when this man and woman are spitting in a bowl of cherries and there's all this drool and they're eating it. Obviously nothing in films really kind of turns my... I've got a strong stomach, but even things that are a bit sort of disgusting at the back of my head are, like I've said before, I know it's a film with special effects, so I sort of judge it more on how good the special effects are than kind of getting wrapped up in believing it's real or anything. But yeah, it's kind of bits I would imagine would gross out and offend some people. But yeah, it's more body fluids. Oh yeah, I think you can see the little cherry bowl. Also, if I don't get the glare on the front there. But yeah, it's a few quite disgusting bits. Very surreal, kind of David Lynch style. Yeah, it seems, I wouldn't say it kind of ripped off Tetsuo, but you can tell the director's inspired by it, or at least within that sort of niche of Japanese cyberpunk. But yeah, just not as good. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'd give it sort of 3 out of 5 star, maybe 3.5. It was kind of, after all the hype and waiting like 20 years to actually be able to get it, before it was only on Region 1 and it was out of print and expensive and you'd have to import it. Yeah, it didn't really quite kind of live up to the hype, but glad I've got it in the collection. What I will watch again, obviously adds to my 88 films collection, but especially the Japaniki. It is like a limited edition. I don't know if you can see that 0739. I'm not too bothered with limited editions. I wouldn't buy it specifically or pay more because it's limited, but obviously if it comes and it happens to be limited, then it's kind of a bit of a bonus, I guess. Just makes it more collectible. Yeah, so obviously that one I pre-ordered from 88 Films along with the Castaway with Nicholas Rogue film with Oliver Reed, and then Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, which I had on DVD, which I've been saying for like 5 years. Other than Salem's Lot, is my favourite made-for-TV film. I always thought it's an underrated gem. So yeah, I'll either watch those and they'll be on the next recent watches, or I'll show them in like a haul video. Although yeah, a bit of a spoiler, but you know I've got those. Yeah, those came through the door yesterday, so sort of 2 days early to when they're meant to be released on this coming Monday, the 24th. Yes, that's everything I've watched. Comment down below if you've seen any of these or you've got any questions about them. Any sort of films you think are similar to these that I might want to watch. Like I said, I'll link the people down below. But yeah, try and watch the live stream tomorrow with Ollie and the Loons and some special guests. Like I say, shout out to Jodie's channel. Yeah, she did a really good video of recommendations from the film community I'd recommend to check out. Yeah, I'll link everybody else I spoke about. This has gone on quite long. Sorry, everybody, but hopefully it's entertaining enough you don't mind watching it for 40 minutes. I was going to try and start making the film shorter. The video shorter, but anybody that might have noticed I've changed the channel name now to Tim's Film Waffle. So I was like, if I was to get it down to 20 minutes, a bit ironic that I changed my name because I know I'm waffling on, and then make more concise videos like Stuart George, who I always say is the kind of king of concise, is just get the film, do I like it, tell you a bit about it, move on, whereas I'll always get sidetracked, go off on digressions. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, bye.